All right, friends, what's going on? This is Logan with West Desert Wheeler. We're out here with my Dlux Fab Capra build. This one's got SSDlux Capra portal axles. I guess I shouldn't say Capra portals, it's just SSDlux portal axles. They use the Axial 10.3 and Capra portal design. It's got the actual Dlux Fab knuckles on it. It's got weight hangers with loaded dice wheels, so that's like a real cheater rig thing there. This thing's sporting a 14-inch wheelbase? 13 and a half or 14-inch wheelbase. Really long wheelbase. I think it's 14. And then it's these axles are about a half-inch wider than a normal Capra axle. So I usually sit about a half tire wider than a Capra. So this thing is a big monster car. It's got the biggest Holmes revolver they've got. It's got the Holmes V3 Crawlmaster ESC in there. It's really sweet. Looking forward to getting out here. I recently went out crawling with some friends. Shout out to Chicken Bone RC. They make these awesome lanyards. Derek's out there, he's 14 years old making these Chicken Bone lanyards. They're really high quality and awesome. It's super cool to see a young gun like that out there grinding it out to support his hobbies. And he's a really talented driver as well. We took him out and ran him on the hard lines and he was making them look pretty easy. So shout out to Chicken Bone RC. Be sure to follow them on Instagram, as I will link that down below. Today we're gonna go run some of my favorite lines out here, but then we're gonna run the cheater line versions and even some old impossible lines that are now possible with this bigger, longer car. Let's go check it out and watch this thing just do some incredible stuff. Now, if you guys have followed my channel for any length of time, you have probably seen this obstacle where I get in this V-notch and then there's a slight turn towards the top. This car can handle that standard line, no problem, especially with the rear steer. And oh, by the way, I have like 55 degrees of steering in the rear, so lots of steering on tap. Get a little bit better steering in the rear than the front for some reason. But this car can also do another line that most cars can't because of its longer wheelbase. I think I had done this, or at least I had attempted it with my MOA. But instead of going up and going up the crack, you can actually exit out the right over here, but you got to be able to reach that hook on the top, and then you got to be able to maintain it. Luckily, we got lots of overdrive, and the car just barely gets it, but man, did it hardly even slipped a tire. And then these loaded dice weights just keep that CG nice and low. These Dlux Goat tires in the medium compound, which is their firmest compound, really do well out here on the Red Rock. So it's been a super fun build. We're gonna hit this little obstacle over here. I haven't driven this with this car yet, but the crack this leads to typically gives you, wider cars have an advantage on the crack. So I've driven an SCX6 through it, but smaller trucks they just can't span the gap as well, so they can be really tricky. But the width and length should be a benefit for us here. Now you guys may have noticed that beautiful new paintwork on these panels I've got going on here. So that is from my buddy Jason over at Bonehead RC. You can find him on Instagram. He does do paint work for people. Like you can send him a body to be painted. But typically you just kind of pick the colors you want. You can give him an idea for a scheme, but he enjoys his freedom. So just keep that in mind if you're looking to send a body over to Bonehead. But if you got something real particular in mind, shoot him a message, see what he says. Originally, this car was supposed to have breast cancer awareness horns on it. So I told him to throw a little pink or purple in there, and then ended up putting the Reefs Pro servo horns on, which are like longer. They're like 26 mil horns or something. And they're black, but the purple panels still look good. Yeah, see how this wider car is still just scrubbing through on its sidewalls? If you're narrower than this, you get trapped down on the bottom and you can fall all the way in. So, definitely not too challenging for this car, but still got to stay on the line. Very nice. This is one of my latest really hard lines. And I was running this with the chicken bone guys the other day, Derek and Alan. And I actually didn't make it with this car yet. I think it can do it. But it's such a different footprint. It runs a totally different line than what other normal cars do. Check out that rear steering angle on that. Just crab right across here. Makes it super easy to get lined up for this one. So you can see it's off camber. It's got this great big overhang. And oh, by the way, it's a big drop, which is exactly where the car goes if it falls every time. Because everything is angled downhill. So keep in mind what we're looking at here is very off camber. So, got our WDW Capra winch mount under the hood. We can use that to influence the attitude of the cage if we need to. Okay, we got our front left down. I'm going to use my steering to effectively change the length of the wheelbase. Because the key is you got to get your tires on all the ledges first. And that back left is still not all the way up. It's actually a different line than I've tried yet. There we go. Oh no, I had it. Take a look at our Revolver in there. Running a 1300 milliamp 4S pack in this car. Got our Reefs 1100 smart servos. Really cool servo mount setup on these SSDlux axles. I like how it's a lay down servo behind the axle. Really cool. Okay, taking a full reset. Just trying to get that back left up. It's almost there. Okay, we finally got the back left up. Okay, now the rear's in control of the car. This is the best looking line I've had it on yet. Normally when I was getting all four tires up, it would push off to the right, but I think she's got it this time. Just don't want it to rotate us in a direction we're not anticipating. We'll take that hook on the outside. First car I've ever seen to crawl that. Not make it, but crawl it. Usually you got to bump up that. So, sick. The old Dlux Capra got her done. This is essentially part of the entrance to our risk trail. It's definitely the line on the risk trail. It's not exactly like the first obstacle, but it's kind of the first major wall you come to. Just kind of seeing what it would do over here on this little ledge area. I've played on this. Maybe I've made it before, I don't know. Let's try the winch. Nah, didn't seem to do much there. Pretty good hook right there. Interesting. Won't go up the smooth face on the left, but it'll go up the big ledgy stuff on the right. Okay, now we're going to go over to a line that was an impossible line for me. And this car makes it look so easy. And like, I had my Sportsman out here with weight hangers in it and these wheels and tires and couldn't get it to stick. But the Sportsman, because of the rules of 2.2 Sportsman for competition, you have to be a 12.5 wheelbase. This car, being an inch and a half longer, makes this climb possible because it's just all about reaching the top. There's a little ledge up top that you turn out to the left, and then it will allow you to go up. But shorter wheelbase cars, I'm trying not to fall over. But shorter wheelbase cars, when you get up here, it's so steep that by the time your rears touch the back, they will just flip over backwards. I've never crawled that with this car, and I just crawled it. That was too sick, man. Slide the belly right over from that UC Fab flat skid. Man, it couldn't make that line look any easier, and nothing else I own can do that. So rad. The last time I played on this obstacle, the sand in the bottom there was just a little more moisture in it, and it actually gave me a really hard time. I ended up doing just a small little bump to make it go up. So we're gonna see if it'll crawl it today. But it really highlights how difficult this obstacle can be. There it is. Nice, it did crawl it. And it shows which trucks are really, really good. So like the VRD crawled it like this truck did. That's amazing to me because this thing is on paper so much more capable, and it still struggles to crawl that line. Okay, so here's an alternate line on my risk trail. This one is benefit to long wheelbase as well. Exact same reason. It gets so steep that a lot of cars try and flip over backwards. Oh, gotta use that rear steer to get around that ledge without pushing the front end off. There it is, just walked up it, no big deal. So let's drive down. We're gonna run the standard line to show you that it will easily handle the standard line. Look at that turning radius, man. That was incredible. Yeah, just turn down into there. Get the front tire up, get your hook. It's super comfortable getting that hook, no problem. Rears go right up with this. Now this is one part of this car that might surprise a lot of people. With the weight hangers, with the axles, with the 2.2s, all that, this thing weighs in without a battery 6 pounds 2 ounces, which in my opinion is very light. For the size of the car, it's a Capra build on portals, big tires, big wheels, metal axles with tungsten weights. It's crazy that this thing only weighs 6 pounds. And the truth is those SSDlux axles are very lightweight. They're without knuckles on them, man, or even the rear axle by itself with the aluminum knuckles that Dlux sells, extremely lightweight. I think a lot of people would be surprised by how light they are. Okay, now this is a line that I had tried with my MOA and was never able to get. Okay, we're gonna use our winch actually. Let's do a little more. Oh, ended up letting some back out, but it picked up that front end how we wanted. So I used the winch to pick that front left up and get it up on top of that overhang. This line is mental, man. No other car I have can do this. This is the first car to ever do it. My MOA couldn't do it. Okay, now we got our hook. If I turned out right, everything would go well and it would drive right up. The overhang on the left, you just turn into it with the rear and it drives up. I'm gonna try and go left right now. And I don't know how that's gonna work out for me, because I just don't have the room, I guess. I'm just trying to really finesse crawl that Revolver. Look at that recovery on that. Good thing we had that crazy steering angle. Okay, we're gonna bring the rear up. We're just gonna have to turn around and get our different angle on it. All right, I think we got our motor hot on that one. Probably the ESC. The ESC is tucked behind my door panel, so it's actually kind of hard for me to know what the temperature of the ESC is. It didn't smell bad, but when you're pushing into a bind like that, trying to finesse crawl, you're gonna heat things up. Now, as far as gearing is concerned on this car, I do have a Dlux NOD transmission, which is their straight axle gearing. The straight axle gearing transmission, and that's what I have in this car to give me added gear reduction. All right, here we go. Found an alternate entrance up into this rock pile. Gotta get that front end clear, but keep the rear up. Okay, now we've got access to make a transfer down in. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Ah, crap. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, that didn't go well. Whoa, where are you going, bud? Let's see if we can find a way down. It's actually gonna sandwich that up. Use my front winch to hold my front end flat. Still didn't work out how I wanted. Exact same thing. All right, so I did the drop off camera naturally. We're probably never gonna be able to reproduce it. Let's see what happens here. Okay, just need to get that front tire out of that pinch. It got out of there. It's up on the rock. Landed the rear. We need to start our corner. It's a good chance that front's gonna fall off. Okay, there we go. Got balanced. Let's get our rear to the wall. Trying to keep the car out of that super low end sign startup mode. Well. Now we're just boulder hopping out of here. There it is, out a couple ledges, and we broke open a new line with the Dlux Capra. Now this line I've been doing a long time, and notoriously I've always had to stack rocks to be able to get it. So we're gonna do it with the stacked rocks here. Nice little save there. Okay, let's make sure our winch is out. Interesting. This car's wide, maybe it doesn't like it. Very interesting. Usually you can drop a front tire in there. That's so funny. This truck is putting up such a fight to not do this when I've driven a Trailfinder 2 through here. I was gonna see if it could do it without stacking rocks, but if it is struggling this hard with stacked rocks, that's strange. Man, this car did not like that at all. That was very weird. Proof that the perfect setup is dependent on the exact obstacle you're on. That car did not like that at all. And you would expect something like this to be able to cruise through it. Hung up on our servo there. Should probably change the pinion angle and servo angle on that a little bit. Maybe clock my C's again. See what happens. This is a long-standing fun line. Been doing this for a long time. Actually, let's go up this wall, see what happens. All right. Pivots right around. No problem. Belly cruises through, didn't even touch. Piece cake. Depending on your rig, that can be an impossible line. This one seems to like it. Now this line, I've always had to full throttle assault to get a car to get up through this. Essentially to get the belly up through the V-crack. And the first time I tried this with this car, I was able to do just that. Crawl it. So, always fun to go from barely possible to, yeah, I can crawl it if I want. This thing's a beast. It really is. Just need to pinion down a little bit and hopefully keep my motor and ESC temps a little cooler. We're gonna servo winch here. Nice. Crazy angle, but it pulled it out. Should we go try one more crazy line? All right, guys. I have not driven this line on camera in a year and almost 6 months. This is my 14 line. And that is 14 in Spanish for those who don't know. In full-size wheeling, buggy trails are rated up to 15. A 15 means it's so difficult no one has made it without assistance. Once you do a very, very difficult line and you're the first person to do it, the trail rating goes to 14. Basically just meaning it is possible to do. So I was the first one to make it through this very, very difficult obstacle, and so I named it 14. Then, after enough people have driven it, the rating will get dropped to a 13, potentially never going below that, depending on how difficult it is. Now, as far as I know, there's only been one other driver to drive this clean, And that is the owner of Poised RC. Not particularly surprised that a Poised was capable of it, but really cool to see that the owner is a hell of a driver to just pull that off. Ooh. Damn. Okay, we're gonna take a reset. Now, when I first did this, I wanted to get a clean run on camera, so every time I would drive the line, I would completely reset, just like I just did. And so it would take up a bunch of time. Now that I've done it, I'm not really holding myself to that standard anymore, but I gotta at least get the drop clean. Don't mind me, Sydney. God damn dog. The key's always been to keep this front left tire, I guess the front passenger tire, up on the wall. Okay. All right. All right, everything's looking pretty good actually. Nice. The rear should drop in. There it goes. So I drove this the other day with a couple friends. Tyson's out here with me. And I drove this car into this crack after having not really tried it in a year and a half. And this car drove through on its first try, which is a real testament to just how crazy capable this thing can be. Now, this build does lend itself to be a good candidate for this, because this crack right here, you need width and you need big tires. And the big tires comes into play on that gap you got to reach across over there. Oh, we missed it. How did we miss that? So even with the 5.6 tires, or whatever these are, 5.7s, we missed it. So like I mentioned, I'm not gonna quite hold myself to that golden standard. I just want to prove that it is possible with this car. But I was pretty well amazed that this car one-shot this line. And pretty proud of that actually, because just driving it is super difficult. Using that rear steer to help pull that front end around. What happens if I... Okay, now check this out. It did this last time. Now, I've lost this line a bunch of times doing this, but if I front winch in, that back tire cannot get across the gap like this. So I used and that smart 1100 servo, holy crap. So right here we're gonna winch in to get that rear tire back on the ledge, get the front back up on the wall, and there it goes. How cool is that? Because when I first did this, the West Desert Wheeler winch mount wasn't even a product yet. So that itself, proving itself useful twice now, super awesome. And again, proud that my product helps make it more capable, so it's super cool. And there it is, made it through the hardest part of the Catorce line. If I just hadn't have ruined it on that solid shot, we could have had a good clean run of that, but the car is capable of it. I don't feel the need to spend hours and hours filming this over and over like I did the first time, which is exactly what I did the first time. I'll leave a link to that video in the comments and I encourage you guys to go check that out. It's got a bunch of music over it because I didn't want to talk and repeat myself over and over again while I tried. So I put it over some cool music and showed how many times I failed in the beginning, which you guys might be surprised how many times I tried that. I'll spoil it for you. It's a lot of times that I tried that. Oh, Sydney sees a dog. Nice. But there we go. Second time I've ever driven Catorce on camera. Oh, scary dogs. So friends, that's going to be all for our Dlux Capra today. I hope you enjoyed the hard lines out here, me showing just how crazy capable this thing can be. And it's interesting we found that one obstacle where it hated it. That was very interesting. So definitely the width on that. Sydney's still growling at other dogs. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Be sure to hit the links down below. Support all the companies that help support me. There's the ones supporting the people in the industry, and they're the crawlers themselves making awesome performance products. So I definitely recommend checking out all of my friends involved in this build. Thank you all very much. I greatly appreciate it. We will see you guys next time. Keep the rubber side down.